Got speaking anxiety? You're not alone. I'm Joel Sweeney, and I want to share with you a little snippet of my personal story. About 25 years ago, I was working for a large international computer company as a sales representative, and I was being asked to deliver presentations a couple of times a week on average to executive teams and company boards and things of that nature. And I wasn't getting comfortable with it. Every time I'd get up this percent, I'd get a knot in my stomach. And that knot would not go away until I sat down. And it got so uncomfortable that ultimately I decided to leave the company. Now, I need to explain that on the surface, I was very successful. I was a Rookie of the Year. I made my quota in my first year, and my wife and I were sent on an all-expense paid trip to Vancouver for a week. So I was good at my job, but I wasn't happy at my job. So I took a job with the local telephone company. And after 2 months, my new manager invited me out to a Toastmaster meeting. Now, I didn't know what Toastmaster was at the time, but we went to the local hotel and we went into the room. I remember it was one door, and we went to the far wall and I sat down. And then I had a moment of panic. I realized that I was as far away from that one door as was humanly possible. Now, I stayed and suffered through the meeting, and then came back for another, and eventually carried on and completed the entire program. After about 2 years, I started to realize that I was getting very comfortable doing presentations and public speaking. I was getting asked to do more presentations at work. I was getting asked to MC weddings for family and friends, and I was getting asked to even present workshops on presentation skills to different groups. So I started to reflect back on what happened the first go around with the sales representative job and why that didn't work so well for me. And in reflection, I realized that I was focused on very little about public speaking. The only thing I was truly focused on was the knot in my stomach. I had actually become an expert at being anxious. But of course, through Toastmasters, I realized that there was much more to public speaking than just spitting out the words and sitting down. So I learned that I needed to make sure that my audience is understanding what I'm saying. Are they agreeing with me? Are they disagreeing with me? Is there someplace else I can reinforce some other point that I can stick in there to make it more clear? Those kinds of things were coming into play. I never thought of any of that when I presented in the first go around. So it's interesting looking back now, because one of the things that I had going on in this same period, I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit, I guess, in me, and have, as long as I can remember, wanted to have a business of my own. So it's interesting looking back on it all now, because the irony is that by overcoming one of my greatest fears, which was my fear of speaking, I realized one of my biggest dreams, which was owning my own business. And the irony is that that business is as a professional speaker. So you never know where it's going to take you. But one of the things you have to be willing to do is that you have to commit to the process, commit to the work, and recognize that it is doable. You're not the first one. There's been others, and there will be many, many more that will come behind you who will tackle their speaking anxieties and will succeed. That's your tip for today. Now go out and make your voice heard.